Hello, my name is Mr. Knickle and I'm your child's classroom teacher. Welcome to 5 Knickle Curriculum Night. I begin every morning in our classroom with a learning acknowledgement. So we would like to begin by acknowledging that we're in the Mi'kmaq, the traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people. What I'm going to do is I'm really just going to tell you a little bit about me, who's teaching your child, and then I'll go through a little bit about the curriculum and just some extra things at the very end. So feel free to pause the video at any time, and I'm also going to send you this slideshow so that you can see it, but I'll just try to condense it for right now. But a little bit about me, I'm a really proud Nova Scotian. I grew up in Cape Breton. I always go back there every summer. In my classroom, I always try to create a nurturing and inclusive environment. And right now, I have a real focus on something called universal design for learning and the multiple intelligences, which I'm just going to touch base on in a minute. And then when I'm not in the classroom, I can usually be found with my 3-year-old son. We usually go on adventures across the province. When it's a raining day, if we're not outside having fun, even in the rain, we can be either found watching like a Marvel movie, I'm really big on that, or reading a science fiction, fantasy, or history book. So here's a couple of pictures of mostly of my son, but there's 2 of me. Us in Cape Breton on a boat there. We went up to Wolfville Festival, which was wonderful. Of course, he has his Captain America shield, and then finally, that's us at Dwarf Park on a fall day. So, what will I be teaching your child this year? Of course, I'll be teaching language arts that composes both of reading and writing. I'll be going through math. I'm teaching science. It'll include weather, the human body, simple and compound machines, chemical and physical properties. With social studies, we'll talk about ancient societies, First Nations, Inuit, and decision-making they've made, British and French interactions, and then Acadian, African Nova Scotian, Gaels, and other Nova Scotian cultures and how they impacted the province. With health, we'll talk a bit about healthy self, which connects well with the human body, especially when it comes to what you're eating, healthy relationships, building those social relationships, and then finally puberty. And then information and communication technology and visual arts, I'll be teaching that all through the year and just giving them the tools they need to create anything, whether it be on a computer or a piece of paper. This is our yearly plan. As you can see, it's broken up into 3 terms. In September, we've already started understanding numbers up to 1 million. That's going very well. We have weather, ancient societies, and then with reading, questioning. With writing, I'm actually studied a little bit about story structure and then personal narrative, and then health, art, and technology. Those are all probably the applications that I'll be teaching, or the tech tools that I'll be teaching the children this year. Now, I mentioned universal design for learning and the multiple intelligences. Right here are the multiple intelligences. And I'm positive your child has probably talked to you about this because we've heavily done a lot of lessons on these already. I just want to give a brief overview. Usually our school system, especially in the past, has really focused on logical, mathematical, or linguistics. If you had a high intelligence in those, you generally did very well in school. The unfortunate thing is if you had high intelligences in the other aspects, and you needed the supports in linguistics or logical mathematical, then you tended not to do as well in that. But in my classroom, I really want to push that we all have strengths and we all have very high intelligences in one of these 9 aspects, whether it be spatial visual, which is visualizing the world in 3D. So those people are usually very do very well when it comes to art or creating 3D environments. They can be very good at video games generally, things like that. Bodily kinesthetics, putting your mind in your body. Those are the students and the people who are great at sports. They're great at dance. They're great at building things with their hands and constructing things. Or something like musical, discerning sounds, their pitch, tone, rhythm. I'm horrible at music, but I know that I want to be better at it, and I know that there are some people, some of my students who are wonderful when it comes to creating things with music. So hopefully they can teach me. So I'm basically going through and I've created the units, and they're sort of based on the multiple intelligences. So this is one for our math unit, which is understanding representing numbers up to 1 million. And as you can see, this is a rubric. So what I do is I give the students this so that they can look at it and understand where they are and what they do to get, what they need to do to get to the next level. So as you can see, beginning to develop, all they need to know is that they can understand that numbers can be represented in various ways. Approaching my expectations is simply they need to represent numbers to the millions in one or two ways. That could be writing them with words. That could be showing it in expression. So if it was like 100, let's say, they could show it as 50 plus 50 equals 100, or 75 plus 25 equals 100 would be an expression. They could show it as expanded form. So that would take the number 23,001 and represent it as 2,000 plus 300 plus 1. All they need to do is show it in two ways. And then finally, fully meeting expectations is that they can represent numbers to the millions in various ways, whether it be place value, expanded form, standard form, decimal notation. And then if they exceed my expectations, they can do all of that. But they can also consistently evaluate the representations to ensure there is proper spacing, no commas, and accurate identification of the place value names. So then once I give them that, what we'll be doing next week, I'm going to be introducing them after I lay the base work or the foundation, is I'm going to be putting them into groups, and every day I'll assign a group a new station. Now each station is going to correspond to a multiple intelligence. Right here, I have 5 stations listed. I do have 9 just for space. I wanted to fit the 5 in here. But as you can see, someone who's a very high bodily kinesthetics intelligence and would probably do very well in that station when it comes to place values. And I'm very proud of them, and I want them to showcase that strength that they have. But the other thing is I really want to make sure that they're improving in every other area. So that's why they go through all 9. They'll do very well probably in bodily kinesthetics. They'll move into visual spatial. I hope they push themselves. They go into musical rhythmic. I hope they push themselves. And then when they get to verbal linguistics, that also may be a very high strength for them. So they'll probably do very well. And by doing this, again, it showcases their strength. But I hope other students also see that we all have something to offer, and that when we are in a group, it's important to hear everyone and to let them showcase their strength, so that the students can use critical thinking and create something to showcase their learning together. So that is essentially what I've been doing with math, science, social studies, is these units that lead into 9 stations that each touch on multiple intelligences. And one thing I'm going to comment on as well is that, as you can see, the first station there, which is interpersonal, existential, and interpersonal, this one's really important because it ties into our social studies. I believe in cross-discipline work, and with here, as you can see, it says study various historical number systems, so Arabic, Roman, Egyptian, Chinese, Mayan, which is probably going to be the ancient civilizations that students pick when we go into group work with that. And again, I want them to learn, and I want them to know that each discipline that they're learning is not siloed. They all cross into each other, and I'm hoping again that sort of grows that critical thinking, and all of a sudden they can start to say to themselves, I'm working on this project for science, but I can definitely use what I learned in math, pull it in. I can definitely use what I learned in language and writing, and hopefully pull that in as well, because everything is connected, and I need for the students to know that and develop those critical thinking skills. And I really wanted to showcase this This is a multiple intelligence lesson we did where I gave each student a thing of clay, and the color corresponded to their highest intelligence. And they rolled it into a snake. And then one by one, they came up, and together as a class, we built a brain that showcased that we all have the multiple intelligences in our head. And then I gave them a little flag, they put their name on it, and they put their top intelligence on it, and they stuck it into the color that corresponded to that intelligence. And I just thought this was such a neat activity, and I think they really enjoyed it, and they really began to understand that they are all intelligent, and that we just need to work on ourselves and to grow and to share what we know with our peers. And I really like it because, as you can see, like in some pictures, you can see Jack, who is very sports driven. Like I know he enjoys sports, and you can see that he's bodily kinesthetic. You can see that McKenna, who's a wonderful artist, always creating things. You can see that she's visual spatial. You can see that there's McKenna. Like Eric is interpersonal. He deals very well with people because he's such a just a friendly person to deal with. So it was just such a fun activity, and I think they really enjoyed it. So I wanted to showcase that. As you can see, this is our schedule. We start off every day usually with a morning meeting. I always try to have math in the morning because I feel like that's best for students. After recess, we'll usually do English language arts. And then after lunch, we go into something called integrated. Then that is usually our science or social studies or health. And right now, I have an emphasis on the multiple intelligences. And you can see that music, library, phys ed, French is all dispersed throughout the schedule. So there we are right there. This is our schedule that I show to students every single day. 8:35 morning meeting. This was today, for instance. Math is at 9:05. 10:05, they always have their snack. 10:20 is recess. We had silent reading today, 10:30. Then we had a language arts assignment, and then phys ed at 11:35. 12:05 was lunch. We finished off the day with a multiple intelligence assignment, which was really, really neat. They got into their groups and they created skits. I hope they told you about it because they did so well with them. And then finally at 2:05 we had music and then dismissal. Here's our list of specialists. Of course, we have our principal and vice principal, Susan Casey and Cindy Crew. Then Barb Bowers, our school counselor. Our EPA in the classroom is Nadia. We've resourced with Karen. Our learning centers, Jocelyn and Catherine. Library with Nika Enborg. French, Rosina McDonald. Our phys ed teacher, Lindsay Gallant. And then we have music, Brent, and our strings teachers. If you're a student that is learning a musical instrument. I'm going to keep this short. Extras, mask, we should all still be wearing masks. I'm pushing that all the time, constantly with them. Cell phones. A quick note about cell phones. I know students have cell phones, and I generally always say, keep that in your backpack or in the hall. I don't want to see the cell phone. I don't mind if they ask to either text you, or they forgot their lunch, or they don't know what they're doing after school or whatnot. And I don't mind if they ask me, but generally, if I see it, I'll tell them to put it away once. If I see it again, I'll probably just take it, put it on my desk until the end of the day and pass it back. Water bottles, please, water bottles. We have Google Classroom. Once the students get their Chromebooks, I'm going to set them up into a Google Classroom. That's how most assignments will be given to them, which is wonderful because then I can invite you to see the assignments and also what they're doing in the classroom. One thing to note is they are going to go home soon with forms that go through what their responsibilities are with the Chromebooks, because it is a responsibility for them that they care for these tools. So I really want them to understand the ins and outs of caring for it, which is making sure you don't take it out of that case, make sure you don't eat around it and drink around it, and be careful with it because it is their responsibility. And finally, communication. Please, I will encourage, if you have any questions, inquiries, please email me. Usually I spend that day, but I'll make sure always 48 hours, of course. And my email is michael.knickle@gnespes.ca. Homework. Generally, when it comes to homework, I usually don't send any unless it's a late assignment. If they haven't finished anything, and usually I give more than enough time for them to, if I haven't finished something, I'll send them an email saying that this is going to be an assignment and I CC you on it, so that you know that this is assigned for homework. The other thing I'll do is I'll make sure that they try to read and practice the multiplications if need be. So how to stay informed, my school number, 902-832-8907. That's not the school email, sorry about that. But if you go to our school website, which is right there, and you can also just Google Rocky Lake Elementary, you can find all of our websites, all of our emails. And then my email is michael.knickle@gnsps.ca. My Twitter account is 5knickle @Mr. Knickle. I really encourage you to also fill out the media form. I love to take pictures of what we're doing in our class. I'll post it to Twitter. And if you sign the media release form, I can put photos of students up, and you can see your child and what they're doing in our classroom, which is always great. And that's it. We've had such a terrific start to the year. I'm just really pleased where we're at. I'm really excited to see where we're going. I think we've such a good group of students. I think we're creating quite a resilient little community in our classroom, and I just hope you will see this at home as well. Thank you very much for listening, for watching the video. If you have any questions, please send me an email. You also have a copy of the slideshow, so if you want just to take your own time and look at it, of course you can. Other than that, have a wonderful night, and I look forward to meeting you during Parent to Teacher. Thank you.